Welcome to The Good Ride, where average snowboarders celebrate snowboard gear polyamory. I'm James Beastie, and today I'm talking about the Yes Pick Your Line Xtrm. Basically, the Pick Your Line on ink, but with a stiffer flex. It's a more tapered, directional, wider version of the regular Pick Your Line with more setback, more slashy floatiness, but still has that nice big mountain personality. This works with a wider variety of riders who like a little bit more of a setback medium angle powder board as well. This carves groomers incredibly well, and it does a lot of things right, and it's a board I recommend a lot. I didn't ride this much this time. I just compared it to the Pick Your Line on one day on some good groomers because I've ridden the older model that is the same shape, camber profile, everything. I've ridden the 155, 57, and 59 in everything from hard to icy groomers all the way up to deep ass powder. So all I wanted to see is how this board flexed on snow after I got it, because everything else is the same. And this time around, it was ridden with my Nitro Team TLS boots and Union Force bindings. This is an honest, objective review with the zero brand oversight from Yes. This is for you, the consumers. And I can do that because of reader support like yourself and sponsorship from Flower Board Shop, a great shop with a strong online presence these days that hangs in there with the big shops in terms of customer support, shipping, and most importantly, price. And what separates them from the other brands is they've been selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders, even before all the Yes guys started this brand. So click through our links to Blower and buy something if our reviews appeal to you and you want to support objective content. It helps us as well as the snowboarding community. And when it comes to sizing, I can handle this 59, but I like the 57 better, especially with the stiffer flex this time around. I've tried the 55, the 57, and the 59. The 57 is the perfect balance between having enough speed and drive, carving ability, stability on groomers, while still having enough turn initiation when I'm in tight spots, good float, and uneven snow. So the 57's just right for my riding style. If you're a really control-oriented, super turny kind of rider and you're similar in specs to me, you can ride the 55. The 59 or 61 could work for you too if you like a faster, more floaty, more harder carving board. That could work for you as well. They only go a little bit up in terms of width, and although millimeters matter, they just don't get as wide as other boards throughout the size range. When it comes to shape, this is pretty tapered and directional. You can see there's a lot more nose happening than the tail. It's much more so than the Pick Your Line. This has 15 millimeters of taper, where the Pick Your Line's at about negative 5.6 millimeters of taper in the 159. What's interesting though is this is centered on side cut versus negative 10 millimeters on side cut with the regular Pick Your Line. And that's at a rather taint-free 22.5 inch wide stance width. And when you factor in setback on board versus setback on side cut, on reference stance, it's 1.75 inches back from center of board. And then if you set it all the way back with a full-size disc, you can get 3.375 inches back from center of board at the same 22.5 inch stance width. So it has more setback on board than the Pick Your Line, but not as much as even the All-In Xtrm. However, the extra taper makes you feel like you're more setback and more directional than the All-In Xtrm. Now, when it comes to the camber profile, there's a decent amount of camber here, going to a little bit of early rise before the tail and a little more early rise before the nose. This doesn't feel like a lot of board on snow on groomers. This is pretty easy to skid a turn. The stiffer flex makes it a little more difficult than past years to turn and twist and engage in a turn compared to the older model. I'd say any intermediate could have a go at this, but committed intermediates who are really looking to push into that advanced to expert level will be happier with this. but you can still skid a turn pretty easy, and it's a far cry from full-on real camber that I learned on and broke myself on many a time back in the day. But what I like about this is it has that same consistent, tapered directional feel in every kind of condition. From hard snow to soft snow, you always know what you're getting underfoot. Now, when it comes to edge hold, you get two indentions here. One that's a slight bit more aggressive and indents and carries towards the tail. Then a second indentation here that indents a little less and carries off towards the tail. It's a very different feel from the tapered mid-bite that you see from the All-In Xtrm and All-In, where this indentation goes towards the tail and this indentation goes towards the nose. So it pinches in at the waist here. And I felt a lot more disparity between the front foot and the back foot in terms of grip than I did with the Pick Your Line Xtrm and Pick Your Lines tapered underbite. So I did find that if you set this up a little more posy, you can lead with your front foot more in hard snow and get this to grip and engage better without the tail washing. But if you're not super posy or you're just like 0 to slightly duck in the back, you can still put a good amount of pressure on the back foot's mid-bite and it'll hold in hard snow almost as well as it will the front. So it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of grip, depending on how you weight your turns. This 159 is a lot stiffer than the past 159 I tried when this first came out. And yes, tweaked their flex over their entire line to better match the flex rating that you see online. Before, I felt it inaccurate. They made it seem stiffer than it was. Now it's much closer to the flex rating. And you've got a very stiff tail. It's a little softer between the feet, but not much. And then the nose is a little bit softer, but overall, this is now for sure a medium stiff flex, where in the past, the nose and tail were a good bit softer, and the flex between the feet was stiffer, but not as stiff as the flex between the feet here now. So across the board, much more stiffer, but it's still got a decent pop to it. It takes a little more work than past models, but it's still easy to access for an average rider like myself, and I found this was pretty easy to ollie. In terms of buttering off the tail, it's a little more work, but somewhat doable. The nose is a little easier, but it takes some work as well. And while I like the Pick Your Line for lining up tricky side hits that might have an uneven path to the little launch, this still does pretty well for that. And it really shines launching off big natural features. It's not very setback on board, so there's a lot of tail, a lot of landing gear, just in case you get off your game a little bit on a big kicker, but you're also centered on board in the air, and that's a much better feeling than being way back on the tail with some more directional tapered boards that lean on the more surfy side. Not bad in pipe, but I like the Pick Your Line better for that. And pretty bad for jibbing, even worse now with the stiffer flex. And when it comes to uneven snow, this does a lot better in soft uneven snow. Hard uneven snow, it's about the same as past year's models. So overall, you're getting a bump in terms of uneven snow performance. And when it comes to turn initiation, I felt like this turned a little slower edge to edge than the Pick Your Line 59. That's just a narrower board with much quicker turn initiation for my size 9 boots. But for this width, it turns pretty quick. And I think you get a little help from that extra taper and these indentions in the side cut. They seem to speed up turn initiation a little bit, and wasn't bad for me. I never felt lacking in tight spots, especially with my 57. And when you get it on edge, this multi-radius side cut along with these indentions is just really magical for allowing you to be a different kind of rider. If you want a straight line, you can straight line with this. And this stiffer flex really makes this a better straight liner. Also, it has a much easier entry point. You can see it's not very deep here, and it's almost kind of straight. So it really allows for a longer, drawn out turn or a just straight up straight line. and it's 8 meters versus 7.8 meters on the 59 pick your line. Then, after you get through this straight part, you have this indention here, and then a deeper side cut before you get to the next indention, which is 7 meters versus the 6.9 meter side cut on the pick your line. And then in the back, it's 6, so it's really deep right here and really has a nice out off the tail. And that's the same as the pick your line. But then you factor in this taper and this extra width and a little more setback experience on board versus the setback on board on the pick your line. And I'm not talking about side cut, I'm talking about on board. It has a very unique feel to it that allows you to make any kind of radius turn you want, from straight lines all the way down to circle cars. And it really shines for all of them. And then you factor in this camber, this stiffer flex, and this pretty poppy personality. It's a fun turning experience. It's really fun to drive through your front foot if you're a little pausy. Center weighted works pretty well too, and back foot weighted works pretty well as well, depending on your stance angles. The more you get out of pausy and the more you go to slightly duck, the more it seems to like a back foot weighted turn more. But the more pausy you go, you can do a little bit of everything. So if you ride this anywhere from 18 to 24 in the front and +3 to +6 in the back, it really lights up and allows you to weight your turn any way you'd like. When it comes to base glide, this clear base glides pretty well. Not the fastest of fast, but it's pretty good. And when well waxed, it keeps its speed almost there with the best of them. And when you don't wax it, it can usually be okay in harder conditions, but softer conditions you might feel that dry base and it can get a little sticky and slow. So keep this well maintained and you got a good base there. And then for powder, it's not the best for low angle powder riding, but medium to steep angle powder riding, this just lights up. And I've just had a joy riding my 57 in a softer flex over the last few years in all kinds of conditions, including some deep powder. And it did very well as long as it didn't get too low angle. And overall, it's not as light, it's not as easy to butter and play around with, but I think most people looking for this board are going to appreciate this stiffer flex when they're carving, going faster, or they're in uneven terrain. It does better. So still a very recommendable board for those who want a more tapered, directional, slashy, somewhat surfy feel, but don't want that setback, surfy kind of ride because they're riding steeper terrain or getting lots of air. It's a board I often recommend to a wide variety of riders. It's not going to change for 2026. Still going to be recommending the hell out of this.